Hey everyone, this is Christopher Luxon, the former CEO of Air New Zealand.
This is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire.
This is Tracy Ibarra. I'm in Executive Solutions at Dell Technologies.
This is Travis Chappell, founder of Build Your Network. If you are wanting to learn how to embrace change,
To navigate through disruption as a leader,
then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast.
The Leadership is Changing podcast.
the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend,
my very good friend, Denis Giannoutsos.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsos.
Hey, welcome to the show. Leadership is Changing. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Leaders everywhere confront similar obstacles because people are people, but everywhere you go, leaders are overwhelmed, disrupted, and under pressure. They run from email to email, meeting to meeting. Many leaders are not changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant and being left behind. The purpose of the show is taking our listeners' leadership to another level by finding their balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. I believe we don't have enough effective leaders in the world today, and if we can get the leaders to step up and lead change, then they can inspire real change. Hey listeners, it's now time to adapt in our fast-moving world. I want to welcome you to today's episode. Hey, if you haven't checked out the Facebook group, Leadership is Changing, or the LinkedIn page, Leadership is Changing, then I highly recommend that you go and do that. Go and check out those two different sort of scenarios or where those tribes are, as being a Facebook group and a LinkedIn page. And we'd love to see you join those two different areas. And if you already are, feel free to invite other people to go and check out the Facebook group and LinkedIn page, Leadership is Changing. So welcome to this Ask Denis episode, which is a freestyle episode. This is when I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts and insights and experiences from working with many leaders around the globe. Okay, so today's topic comes down to a question that I ask, but also there is another question I get asked a lot of times. Are business cards still relevant? Is it still a thing to have or give out business cards? Now, for some of you, you might actually hide behind this as an excuse to not be out there networking. But the question that I get asked a lot is, hey, Denis, do I need to have a business card nowadays? And you see, why use a business card in today's digital world, right? I mean, it's all digital for a lot of it, but that doesn't mean that everyone has a digital device. What? You mean not everyone has a digital device? Don't we all have smartphones nowadays? Well, not everyone has that. But then what is your audience or the people that you know, what do they tend to have with them? Is it business cards? Is it smartphones? What do they have? I don't know about you, but do you remember the first time you got your very first set of business cards? They just arrived from the printers. And how did that make you feel when you actually got those first business cards? Man, I can remember the smell of the freshly printed business card printed on quality paper. It was fantastic. So if we talk about the question, do I need business cards, or are business cards still relevant in today's world? Well, this is my answer. It depends. My answer is that it depends, because the answer to that question depends on what's going on for you and where you are in business and what you tend to do and where is your audience and what are you trying to achieve. You see, in some cultures, a business card, along with an appropriate title, is very important. It's also important for some industries as well. But I know that if you go into some countries like Asia and you're giving a business card, it's the way that you give the business card to the other person is very, very important. The way you hand it over or the way that you receive theirs. The way that you pay attention to what is on the business card rather than just taking it, playing around with it when you're talking to them, or just putting it straight into your pocket. That business card is an extension of them. And that business card is very, very important because you see, your business card is a calling card. It allows people to remember you and who you are. You see, when they go back to their workplace, to their homes and so forth, they need to be able to remember you. Now, if it's poorly designed, then it's not worth having one. If it's printed on poor paper, that comes across as being quite cheap, and you'll get cheap results, team. So make sure it's actually printed on quality paper if you're going to have a business card. Have you ever been caught out by somebody asking you for your business card and you didn't actually have one on you? So then what did you do? How did you handle that? Because you see, we probably need to be prepared for different scenarios when we're meeting people. Even with the digital side of things, and even if you take into consideration the COVID lockdowns, business cards are relevant. As long as they are well designed, professionally printed, in other words, that quality, like I said just before, they're handed out well, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, and they are very professional as well. Now, going back to handing it out well, don't feel like you need to give everybody your business card. It's not about throwing mud on the wall and seeing what sticks, because that ain't going to work. You need to be selective, more targeted, and actually offering your business card to somebody and getting their business card as well. But what actually happens if they don't actually have a business card? Well, there's a couple things you can do. One is you could have some spare blank little business cards if you want and get them to write their details on it, or you can have some blank space on your card somewhere, maybe possibly. But the other thing is you can go to the digital space as well, whereby if you have a smartphone and you're able to do that, that's great. But even if you can capture their email, that'll be wonderful. Now, how do you remember people when you meet with them? If you meet them at a function or an event or some sort of meeting that you're having in an organization, how do you remember them? For me, a lot of people, I get their business cards and it goes into a pile, but the very important thing is to do something with that business card, like capture them into a CRM database or into a spreadsheet, whatever it is that helps you capture it. In fact, nowadays you actually have apps that are available for your smartphone to capture the card straight away and put it into a format that you can utilize going forward. I don't know about you, but I actually always make sure I have a photograph of me, of my face, on my business card. Because it could be months down the track whereby, what was that name of that guy that I wanted to meet, which was really important. And so then if they see the business card with my face, it will rejig their memory or, just sort of give them a bit of I was going to say the word jolt, but a bit of a reminder of who you are, and then they can put pieces together. If you are going to put a photo, make sure it's a professional one. And if you haven't got a professional photo taken, I'm going to highly recommend that you go ahead and do that. Now, it might cost you a couple $100 to go and get a professional one done. And then also make sure that that photo is also reflected on your LinkedIn profile as well. On that business card, I show all my digital contact details on there. And so just make sure you've got that appropriate detail on that card for sure. But what we've also seen is not just the physical business card, but we've actually seen the rise of the digital card. Now, the digital card could be a card that actually is printed as well, but it actually has a QR code on it for people to actually scan for it to go straight into their contacts. There is also where people might do a one-page landing page type thing on their website that's all about them. It's an about page, and it actually has media kit on it. It actually can have photos that people can download and so forth. So that might be another way as well as part of that digital card. But if you've got LinkedIn as an app or a platform on social media that you're using, which is a professional platform, it's not like Facebook. But what I have noticed is that LinkedIn is starting to become a lot more personal, as we know that a lot of people are wanting leaders to be more transparent, authentic, and so forth. And we're starting to see that. What I'm going to highly recommend you do is, if you're able to right now, and if not, you can rewind and listen to this recording later and do it later, is go to your actual LinkedIn side of things. And you'll see as you go into the app, you'll have your photo in a little small round circle on the left-hand side at the top. Then you'll have a search field, and then you'll have a little symbol, and then outside the search field to the right-hand side, you'll see a little bubble there. That's for messages. That little, in the search field, we've got a microscope on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, it looks like a little box with 4 little boxes in it. If you click on that, that's actually quite interesting to see what happens. That's where you can use somebody else's. So if somebody else, let's say I meet Bob, and Bob and I are meeting at a function. He gets his phone, pulls it up, and pulls up the LinkedIn app. I do the same, and then I get him to go to that little area. So then what I can do is it shows me a scan or another area which is called My Code. And My Code actually has my name and everything in there, but also has a QR code for me and my LinkedIn profile. And all he needs to do is hit the scan piece in this area and put his phone over the top of mine for his camera to actually scan the QR code, and then he can connect with me on LinkedIn straight away. Now, team, if you're at a function, you're networking, and you don't have business cards, but you're going to use LinkedIn as your digital card going forward, then what I highly recommend you do is that once you connect with this person on LinkedIn, is that you go back with a private message as well. And even try and collect their email address too. Now, if you're going into a networking event and you collect business cards, I'm going to highly recommend that you go to LinkedIn, you connect with them on LinkedIn, and also that you send them an email to say how great it was to catch up with them, and you look forward and give them a call to action, or give yourself a call to action to catch up and meet with each other to talk and network and so forth. Okay, so that's the rise of the digital card, which has been quite interesting to see for sure. Now, there are some key steps here, or key areas for you to have an awesome card. Now, I'm going to call them, there's probably about 7 areas. Number 1 is please keep it simple. No need to clutter your business card. I actually quite like the fact that it's nice and crisp and clear and succinct. That's what you want to do. Keep it simple. Number 2, not everyone has a smartphone, so know your audience. And once you know their audience, then you can actually have printed business cards, or if they are digital savvy or they're active in the digital world, then go down that LinkedIn and have your digital card ready to go. Number 3, it's another way of people remembering you and how to get a hold of you. And so make sure that they do have that. So it's something you're giving them, and take it from there so they can remember you a little bit later on. But always follow them up with an email. Always follow them up on LinkedIn as well, and start building that relationship. Number 4 is make sure your card is trustworthy and has credibility, or is credible. If you have a card, a photo on it that looks silly, or looks like you're at a party, that ain't going to come across, depending on who your audience is, right? And also the quality of the card, just make sure that the quality of the card, the design, the layout looks trustworthy and credible. Number 5 is to understand that your business card, whether it be a digital one, whether it be that one-page landing page on your website, or an actual physical printed business card, is that it's prime real estate. And you want to make sure that you use that prime real estate wisely. And ensure that you're actually using it, and using it in a way that's going to be impactful and effective for you and the other person looking at it. Number 6 is professionalism. Make sure it's a good size font on that business card. That photos are, as I said before, are professional. And if you haven't got one, then go ahead and do one. Get one done. And then the high quality paper and print. It's a bit like when you meet people and you network. You know, if you take them to a cafe that's just, then you're trying to sell them something, or you're trying to do business with that person, then they will probably expect cafe prices. Go somewhere that's a little bit more classy. And it's the same with the business card. Go and make sure it's classy. Make sure it's premium looking. Make sure it's something whereby it's high quality paper and print as well. Number 7 here is always follow people up with the email, as I said before. So a LinkedIn message, send them an email, send them a LinkedIn message, whatever it is, give them a phone call. Just follow them up all the time. And what I would do, team, here is that follow them up once or twice or 3 times as well, and try and get to have a coffee with them, a Zoom meeting with them, depending where they are, just to catch up as well. You may also want to send them something. Send them something of value. So you're seen as somebody who's adding value to other people as well. So what I'm trying to say here is just don't drop your business card and that's the end of it, because you want that to be the beginning of the relationship. You want to network well. Now, business cards, you don't actually have to have a business card. If you've got a digital card, that's great. But what you want to do is somehow build a relationship with that person and be able to have contact details between the two of you, so then you both can connect with each other and that you both can get together. So many times you will go to an event or somewhere and you'll meet somebody and you just don't know who they are, or you can't remember how to get hold of them. And this is why it's really important. But I'm going to go back to one of my statements right from the beginning. Don't make it as an excuse to not network because you don't have any business cards. You know, you might need to go out and network straight away. You may need to go out and do things and sell something and make some money before you go and get business cards printed. But it's the cost of business, team. And nowadays they have whereby you can actually create these online as business cards. You can go on to things like canva.com, or you can go to other organizations that are available for you, whereby they may do 100 or 200 business cards printed for you digitally, and they get it sent to you pretty quickly. We can have them within a few days as well. So do what's right for you. Do what's ever appropriate for you, and make sure that you've got everything in place that you need, so it makes it easier for the client to contact you. So that's the best way to do it. The number of times I've seen people whereby they've just connected with someone on LinkedIn or Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, and they have never gone back to them. It's not about the 5-minute wonder whereby you just quickly meet each other, have a few laughs, and that's it. If there's rapport and there's something you want to do there with that person, you're going to need to work at it. But use the business cards, whether a physical or a digital version, to help you create that kind of, have something of an exchange and something you can go back to people on. All right, team. Hey, if you haven't already checked out the Facebook group, Leadership is Changing, or the LinkedIn page, Leadership is Changing, love to see you there, and come along and join there. And it'd be wonderful to see you join that community, or that tribe, if I can call it that. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant, and change is incredibly scary, especially with the unknown and the unfamiliar territory. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing. Hey, look out for the episodes as they're being released. Download them, have a listen, put a review and a rating. Those reviews and ratings really help with the ranking of the actual podcast. So I'm really going to highly recommend or ask you to do that, team. Hey, if there's any feedback you'd like to give me on the show, or if there's a question you want to ask my guests as I interview them, or a question for the Ask Denis Freestyle episode, feel free to send me an email, dennis@leadingchangepartners.com. Team, it's always a pleasure coming to you. Thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.